You know, Alex, I spent 20 years convincing myself that if a project didn't involve a saw blade or a welding torch, it wasn't real shop work. I looked at upholstery like it was some dark art involving magic needles and secret handshakes.
To be fair, Tiger, you usually have a layer of sawdust so thick on you that you'd probably ruin any fabric within a 50-foot radius just by breathing near it.
That's a valid point. But I finally buckled last month. I had this mid-century chair, beautiful walnut frame, but the seat looked like a tectonic plate shift had happened inside the foam. I thought, how hard can it be? It's just wrapping a present with staples.
Oh, the famous last words of every maker right before they end up surrounded by 3 pounds of shredded polyester and a bruised thumb. Did you actually manage to make it sittable, or is it now a permanent art piece in the corner of the garage?
Well, after I stopped trying to use my construction-grade framing stapler, which, by the way, is a great way to split a delicate chair rail into toothpicks, I actually found a rhythm. It's a different kind of precision. In woodworking, you're fighting the grain. In upholstery, you're negotiating with tension.
It really is the ultimate upcycling skill, though. I've seen those before and after photos on Etsy and Instagram where someone finds a chair that looks like it's been lived in by a family of particularly angry raccoons, and 3 days later, it's a boutique masterpiece. Where do you even start if you've never touched a needle?
You start small, or you'll lose your mind. I see people trying to tackle a tufted Chesterfield sofa for their first go. That's like trying to build a grandfather clock when you haven't even mastered a birdhouse. My advice? Find a dining room slip seat, those drop-in pads. It's basically a flat board with some padding and fabric.
Like the training wheels of furniture?
Exactly. No curves, no pleats, just straight lines. Because once you hit a curve, the physics of fabric changes. You have to start talking about pleats and tucking the corners. If you stay with straight lines, footstools, ottomans, headboards, it's mostly about keeping the fabric taut so you don't get those sad, wavy ripples that look like a melting sundae.
So, aside from not using a framing nailer, because I'm still picturing you trying to do that, what's the actual minimum viable kit for a beginner? I'm assuming I don't need a $1,000 industrial sewing machine on day one.
Not quite. But you do need a few things that aren't in your standard toolbox. A solid staple gun is the heart of it. Pneumatic is best if you have a compressor because squeezing a manual 1/500 times will give you the grip of a lobster, but the wrist of an 80-year-old. Then you need good fabric shears. And I mean good. If you use the scissors you use to cut open Amazon boxes, you're going to chew that fabric rather than cut it.
I am definitely guilty of the Amazon box scissor crime.
We all are, but here's the secret tool, the staple remover. Not a flathead screwdriver, an actual upholstery ripper. Because you will put a staple in the wrong place, usually 50 of them.
I was looking at that Woodworker's Guide by Michael Maselli, and he talks about the deck. It sounds like building a house. You've got the springs, the webbing, the foam, the dacron. Is all that stuff really necessary? Can't I just slap some foam on a board and call it a day?
You can, if you want to feel like you're sitting on a brick within 6 months, the deck is the foundation. If you're doing a sprung seat, you're using those zigzag springs or coil springs. It's about energy return. But for most beginners, it's the foam sandwich that matters. You have your high density foam for the bulk, and then you wrap it in Dacron. That's the white, fluffy batting.
What does the fluff actually do, other than make a mess?
It's the softener. It rounds over the harsh edges of the foam, so your chair doesn't look like a square block of cheese. It gives the fabric that professional, slightly crowned look. Without it, your fabric will eventually stretch and sag, and you'll find yourself sitting in a little fabric valley every time you watch a movie.
Okay, let's talk about the scary part. The show cover. Leather, vinyl, velvet. I feel like I'd be terrified to make the first cut on an expensive piece of leather.
Believe me, I held my breath so long cutting my first hide I nearly passed out. Leather's unforgiving because every staple leaves a permanent hole. No undo button there. If you're starting out, go with a sturdy cotton or a heavy-duty polyester blend. And for the love of all that is holy, avoid patterns that have perfectly straight stripes for your first project. If your staple is 1/8 of an inch off, that stripe will look like a bolt of lightning going across your seat.
So, no pinstripe suits for my ottoman. Got it. What about the dust cover on the bottom, that black fabric that always seems to rip after 5 years?
Cambric, it's the finishing touch. It hides your shame, all the messy staples and folded fabric edges underneath. It's the upholstery equivalent of a good coat of paint on the back of a cabinet. Nobody sees it, but you know it's there.
You mentioned negotiating with tension. I like that. Woodworking feels very command and control. You cut the wood to the dimension, and it stays there. Fabric feels like it has a mind of its own.
It really does. It's a living thing. You pull it tight from the centers first, north, south, east, west, and then work your way to the corners. It's like a dance. If you pull too hard on one side, the whole face of the chair gets a terminal case of the wry neck. You have to find that sweet spot where the fabric is taut but not screaming.
And the corners, that's where most people's wrapping a present analogy falls apart, right?
Absolutely. The hospital fold is common, but in upholstery, you're often dealing with much thicker material. You have to give the fabric somewhere to go. Sometimes that means cutting a tiny slit, the relief cut, to allow the fabric to bypass a wooden post. That's the moment of truth. If you cut too far, you've just made a very expensive rag.
And you've definitely done that, haven't you?
I have a box of learning experiences in the back of the shop that would make a textile museum weep. I once tried to upholster a curved vanity stool for my niece. I ended up with so many pleats it looked like a giant velvet accordion.
But she loved it, right?
She asked if it was supposed to be a shabby chic cabbage. Kids are brutal, Alex. They have no respect for the craft.
So, what's the big takeaway for the maker who's currently staring at a beat-up thrift store chair but is too scared to pull the first staple?
Strip it. Just start pulling staples. You learn more from taking a chair apart than any book will ever teach you. You see how the pros did it 50 years ago? You see where they tucked the fabric, where they used cardboard strips to get a clean edge, and where they hid the tacks. It's like a reverse blueprint.
And the worst case scenario?
You're out $20 for a thrift store chair and some staples. But the payoff? Sitting in a chair you built or restored, feeling that support you designed yourself. It's a different kind of satisfaction than finishing a table. It's literally comfort you created.
I think I might actually go buy a staple gun this afternoon. But Tiger, I'm sticking to the straight lines. No accordions for me.
Smart move. Save the pleats for when you're feeling brave or when you have enough fabric to fail once or twice. Because in the end, the only real mistake is letting a good frame go to the landfill because you were afraid of a little thread.
Well, next time, maybe you can teach me how to actually sew those perfect corners I keep seeing on YouTube.
Let's master the staple gun first, Alex. One thumb bruise at a time.